You ready? Jimbo ass, motherfucking Dumbo ass motherfuckers. Alright, so, where do I start with this? I guess I'll just make this one segment. So I was shown this video. By Behind the Headlines. This video was released on Christmas Eve. And this video is bizarre. I watched this whole thing. This video is fucking bizarre. Right? And I'm going to dissect this video. For anyone who watches this video, right? And, you know, you don't know anyone who you don't know who I am. I am in favor of Medicare for all. In fact, I am so in favor of Medicare for all, I supported the only Medicare for all candidate in the 2020 Democratic primary, Bernie Sanders. So there's a lot of people, self-identified comedians who are supporting anti-Medicare for all candidates that are trying to claim the mantle of being Medicare for all advocates. I'm a real Medicare for all advocate. I supported Medicare for all more than a couple weeks ago, unlike Jimmy Dore, right? So I want to watch. This video sparked me making a very interesting Twitter thread, and I want to read through this Twitter thread. I was pontificating this morning. My brain was big. You know the galaxy brain meme? That was basically me this morning. So I want to share with you my pontification about this video, or at least the subject of hashtag force the vote. Okay, so my basic thesis is that YouTubers in general, media personalities, politicians in general, they are more interested in their narcissistic vanity project and in their egos than they are with anything else. And that is the most visible in the folks behind the People's Party. It is the most visible in folks like Jimmy Dore that are behind Force the Vote. Now, there are people that agree with the Force the Vote strategy that I respect, that I'm huge fans of, right? Cornel West, for example. Brianna Joy Gray, for example. I respect both of them. Now, I don't think that Brianna Joy Gray has been acting in good faith. I think that Cornel West has been acting in tremendous faith, and we just disagree on this issue. There is a difference between disagreeing, right, and calling everyone who's not you a sellout piece of garbage. And so I want to read to you what I wrote this morning when I was having a big brain moment. So all these big buggers like Jimmy Dore think they are leading a revolution while they just sit at home and monetize their audience via a feedback loop that only accelerates their inflated sense of identity. What I mean by that, again, if you in your videos, right, and let's say you get 100,000 views each video, and your video, you're telling people, if AOC doesn't listen to me, then she's evil. That allows you to make video after video after video within that framework. It creates an alternate world where you are in charge of the rules and you decide who the winners and losers are. Look at capitalism. Capitalism decides that those with wealth will be able to make more wealth by accumulating their wealth on top of their wealth. Look at the stock market, for example. The rules of the game in capitalism are rigged to benefit those that already have wealth. Similarly to how Jimmy Dore's Force the Vote fan fiction alternative reality has put himself in a situation where he is going to be the winner regardless of the outcome. So, you can read through this whole thing yourself. And I compare this to QAnon here. I compare this to Pizzagate because I think that they are very valid criticisms and analogies. I am trans, right? That means I am on medication for the rest of my life. So when I have people say that I am a sellout to Blue Cross, Blue Shield, and Big Insurance because I don't like a transphobic comedian, a comedian, by the way, that supported transphobic politicians, right? So to say that I'm against Medicare for all because I don't like them, it's insulting to me more than it ever could be insulting to you. I am going to be on the whims of the pharmaceutical industry and health insurance companies for the rest of my life, assuming they both exist. So to say that I am against Medicare for all because I don't like Jimmy Dore is bizarre. But again, this is the mentality, right? This goes back to the Pizzagate thing. When you think you are saving the children, because that's what QAnon people believe. They think that they're saving the children. Who knows what children? Who knows whose children? They're just saving the children. So when you go to Comet Ping Pong and you shoot the place up, because you think that there's a child sex dungeon in the basement, you are doing a revolutionary and noble thing. You are saving the children. Except There are no children there, right? All you did was commit a crime. And now you take that same thing, and I'm not saying that these people are of equivalent destructive value, but I'm saying, right, I've gotten so many people who are Jimmy Dore fanboys coming to my page, calling me a scumbag, a sellout, saying I'm evil, saying that it's standing in the way of healthcare. Dude, I get 100 views on my YouTube video. I am standing in the way of healthcare. If anything, I am more in favor of universal healthcare because I'm going to be on these for the rest of my life, right? Cisgender people who are not having chronic illnesses coming at me saying I'm against universal healthcare, I'm sorry, go fuck yourself, you're dumb. But calling minorities scumbags and sellouts, saying trans women are corporate shills because they rely on healthcare for life, sending people death threats, saying everyone is evil, it's all justified because they are standing in the way of healthcare. When you are convinced that every other single person is standing against your mother-in-law getting a cancer screening, you think that it's okay saying everyone in the world is evil. It's okay because they're the enemy and you're trying to get healthcare. They're trying to save the children. When you set up a world like making a Minecraft custom map, which I have a lot of experience with, I'm a gamer, where you control all the rules, people will make their own conclusions based on the rules you laid forward. Jimmy gave himself a win-win-win scenario. All the rules lead to him winning. If force the vote happens, M4A loses. Jimmy Dore wins, Nancy Pelosi is evil. If force the vote does not happen, Jimmy Dore still wins, and instead of Nancy Pelosi, it's AOC who's evil, right? It's just misdirecting. Whoever disagrees with me, wherever my idea lands, they're the one who's evil. That's what this is, right? So people are saying, oh, you're talking about force the vote, but all you can talk about is Jimmy Dore. All you can talk about is Jimmy Dore. You're smearing Jimmy. First of all, playing his own words and then saying how you disagree with them is not a smear, motherfucker, okay? The reason why force the vote opponents are talking about Jimmy more than the strategy is because we need to police our own before this shit gets way too cancerous like QAnon on the right. Look at them. They're going to boycott the Georgia Senate runoffs because they think that the elections have been stolen, and their thinking is that we got to stop the steal. The Republican Party is standing in the way of the steal. The Republicans are standing in the way of Donald Trump's rightful second term. And so to them, everything is justified. And I want, if I have any sort of sway, if I have any audience, I want my audience to be impervious as possible to this sort of fanboy feedback loop way of thinking. That's why, whenever I talk about force the vote, I will say it's a decent strategy that maybe could have had traction. Jimmy Dore making it all about him is why I will not take it seriously. But I want to watch this video here because Jimmy Dore fanboys have been doing this thing where they've been trying to say everyone who disagrees with them is a NATO shill. Now, their supporting evidence for this is that you have clips from 5 to 10 years ago of certain progressive media hosts saying things that are cringy. Congratulations, right? Jimmy Dore has been making transphobic jokes for the last at least 30 years, okay? Whenever I point that out, people say, oh, that was a long time ago. People say, oh, that was forever ago. It doesn't count. What matters is what's happening right now. And that's all well and good. People growing, people evolving, people learning from their mistakes should be celebrated. If someone believes in foreign intervention 8 years ago and they're now an anti-interventionalist or whatever the anti-interventionist, that's great. That should be celebrated. We should throw them fucking parties, right? But to claim that okay, I'm just going to play the video. Again, you'll see how ridiculous it gets. Now, again, some of the things that they cite are in fact cringe posts. Absolutely, right? But just wait until this video takes another tanky turn. That's right, the tanky turn. It's epic. Let's watch. By the way, what is this? Like, what is this, Project Veritas? Like, what's going on? Is this like a trailer for like a new Call of Duty game? Like, what? I've got this on 2x speed, bear with me.
Over the past week, comedian Jimmy Dore has single-handedly exposed the collection of self-styled leaders of progressive media as imperialist hacks joined at the hip with the Democratic Party and NATO.
So I just want to say, literally, the first sentence out of this Dumbo bitch's mouth is Jimmy Dore single-handedly exposes everyone else. It's all Jimmy? No one else. It's all Jimmy. He single-handedly... This is, again, what I'm talking about. The fanboy shit. The fanboy shit. It's all Jimmy. Again, I've gotten comments of people saying that Jimmy Dore is like Malcolm X. What? Jimmy Dore is Malcolm X? It's all Jimmy. He single-handedly exposed everybody.
Over the past week, comedian Jimmy Dore has single-handedly exposed the collection of self-styled leaders of progressive media as imperialist hacks joined at the hip with the Democratic Party and NATO. It all started when Dore, self-described jagoff pothead comedian, called for progressive members of Congress to withhold their votes for Nancy Pelosi as House Speaker until she agreed to hold a floor vote on Medicare for All. With a pandemic raging and Americans losing their jobs in healthcare, it seemed like the perfect way to hold Democrats' feet to the fire. But Dore's push apparently threatened the most prominent progressive in Congress, Andrea Ocasio-Cortez, after she rejected his tactic in a series.
It threatened her? In what capacity? In what capacity? Now again, look at the language here. I try to analyze the language whenever I listen to these people. I'm going to turn it maybe to 1.75. But AOC is put in jeopardy? No. No. Because one random YouTuber said something, AOC's position is threatened? What?
Series of tweets referring to the House Speaker she's referred to lovingly as Mama Bear. A group of prominent podcasters.
When AOC called her Mama Bear, you have to understand the context. Right? Now, again, it's cringe. I'm not trying to say it's not cringe. But when you're speaking, right, to a bunch of old Democratic voters, you gotta fucking weasel some ways in there to get them to take you seriously. It's called tactics. It's called strategy. But they are going to use that. This dumb motherfucking weirdo here is going to say, oh, she said Mama Bear once, therefore everything that she does is evil. She said Mama Bear. She's evil. She said Mama Bear one time.
Sprang to her defense, and then launched a wave of personalized, vicious, and ultimately revealing attacks on Dore. Rather than debate the merits of his proposal, figures like Nomiki Konst, Anna Kasparian, Ben Dixon, and Cenk Uygur honed in on Dore's personality.
I just want to say, the idea that I'm not included in this list, here's the deal. Here's the deal. Everyone watching this right now, you're watching it live, right? Or if you're watching the video, but if you're watching it live, when I upload this clip, right, post this on Reddit, post this on Twitter, tag these people in it. I want them to put me in their fucking lists. I want them to do deep dives on me. I want to have like Call of Duty trailer music, right, be applied to my face. When are they going to add me to this list? I have been way more vociferously against Jimmy Dore than all of these 4 people that this person listed combined. All of them combined. Why? Because I'm not popular. I'm independent. I can say whatever the fuck I want. I am not tied to MSNBC. I am not tied to organizations. I can speak my mind and say whatever I want. And what I want to say is fuck Jimothy motherfucking Dumbo Dore. Right? But again, what this video is about is finding some like progressive media people and then hunting down their history 5, 10, 15 years ago. Finding some cringe posts. And again, they can be cringe. But then saying because of those cringe posts, everything that they say forever is bad. Whereas, if you go in Jimmy Dore's history and say, oh, he used to give really bad stand-up shows that were making fun of trans and gay people, and that's kind of bad, and he's not apologized for it. Instead of doing that, no, that was forever ago.
With prominent podcasters sprang to her defense, and then launched a wave of personalized, vicious, and ultimately revealing attacks on Dore. Rather than debate the merits of his proposal, figures like Nomiki Konst, Anna Kasparian, Ben Dixon, and Cenk Uygur honed in on Dore's...
By the way, I just want to say, I watch The Majority Report, I watch Nomiki's show, I watch Benjamin Dixon's show off and on, right? You know, I don't have that much time to watch podcasts, so I get the clips, I get the highlights, right? These people, all of them, as far as I understand, I have not seen Anna's, outside takes, but I'm sure that they're in the same category. They have all spent hours dissecting why the force the vote strategy is ridiculous, or at least the way Jimmy Dore's presentation of it is ridiculous. So again, what this person is doing is they are lying. They're taking things out of context. They're giving you like 1 or 2 reasons to dislike someone. And if you've never heard of these people before, of course you would dislike them. You're already pre-programmed, you don't know who they are, and you're given the worst things that they've ever said and then presenting them in the worst way possible. It's fucking ludicrous. But again, let's watch.
On Dore. Rather than debate the merits of his proposal, figures like Nomiki Konst, Anna Kasparian, Ben Dixon, and Cenk Uygur honed in on Dore's personality, doing all they could to deflect from the substance of the issue and insulating their hero, AOC.
Nobody that I have seen, again, I've watched at least like everyone except I don't watch TYT. I'm sorry, but every now and then I check out Anna on the Jacobin channel, right? But whatever. They like to deflect the like, no, that's not true, right? And to say that they love AOC, like, again, it's a binary way of thinking. Oh, you dislike Jimmy Dore and love AOC. Like, we all have, like, AOC, like, pictures printed out. Some are in black and white because we ran out of color ink in our printer. We kept printing out AOC pictures in a shrine in the closet, right? I like AOC. Do I love her? No. Do I think she's the greatest thing ever? No. Do I disagree with her on a lot of things, especially foreign policy related? Absolutely. But to say that because I dislike Jimmy Dore, or to say that because Sam Cedar or Ben Dixon dislike Jimmy Dore, that means that they love AOC, it's ridiculous. Again, less than 2 minutes into this video, and they've proven themselves to be a ridiculous fucking bad actor. I'm going to boost this up to 2x, because otherwise I'll be here forever.
The YouTube channel longtime MSNBC contributor Sam Cedar became a theater for meltdown over Jimmy Dore's rogue campaign for an M40 floor vote. The past week alone, Cedar has done 2 lengthy segments devoted to smearing Jimmy Dore.
I just want to say, I have done 1 video every single day for like the past week making fun of Jimmy Dore. So I'm just throwing this out there behind the headlines. If you want to like check out my channel, some of them are 30 minutes, some of them are 40. I've been making fun of Jimmy Dore way more than, again, all of these people combined. I'm just throwing it out there. I'm keeping it 100, right?
During one 23-minute segment, podcaster and failed New York public advocate candidate Nomiki Khan's launched a McCarthyite attack on Dore, accusing him
I just want to say, failed New York public advocate candidate. That's really funny. I'm sorry. I know. I'm sorry. That's just so funny. I love it. That, like, one of the things that I do with Donald Trump is I love saying failed presidential candidate Donald Trump in my headlines on YouTube. And then I get the Trump fanboys that come in and they get so triggered. I love it. So I just want to say that language is hilarious.
During one 23-minute segment, podcaster and failed New York public advocate candidate Nomiki Khan's launched a McCarthyite attack on Dore, accusing him of taking what she called Assad money.
This is a clickbait game. This is about fame. There are hosts on air who want to make change. I think all of us are really concerned about educating our audience and bringing on informed people to help us understand everything, the issues and how to...
I don't know why they clipped this part of their segment, because what Nomiki says here is very intelligent and very nuanced. And again, if you don't know any of these people, why would you take out a segment of her saying something intelligent before, like, the framed Dumbo segment? I don't know, but...
through and push for these change. And then there are hosts who want to be multimillionaires and famous. And, you know, let's just make those lines very clear. Yeah. So and not to mention, he has taken money, admitted to taking money from pro-Assad groups. So he's not the pure guy that he wants to pretend, or the guy who took Assad money.
This was not just a neocon-style distraction, but a total lie.
Now, again, I just want to be straight up right now. I am not a scholar on any of this shit. I'm a jagoff pothead comedian, okay? Right? So I don't know what this group that this person and Jimmy Dore, because this person's they say that they also took money from the same group. I don't know the group. I could look into the group. I'm not going to. I'm just a jagoff pothead comedian. So I could look into the group. I could debunk this more heavily. Other people have made comments. Other people have written articles about this. I defer my judgment to them. I am neutral on this position, right? But again, this person, right, is going to say, oh, this Jimmy Dore attack is bad faith and it's so long ago. Yet they're going to bring up 10-year-old clips on everyone else.
What Khan's called Assad money had no relation to Assad. She was referring to a $2,500 donation from a US-based anti-war nonprofit called the Association for Investment in Popular Action Committee. Does relief work in Cuba, Palestine, and Syria, targets of Washington's ruthless hybrid warfare. This nonprofit has also organized openly against the US proxy war in Syria. The Assad money trope Khan's deployed originated from a bogus investigation published by the notorious disinformation shop called Bellingcat. This outlet has been funded by the UK Foreign Office and the National Endowment for Democracy.
Now, again, I know a lot of the context for the rest of what this person talks about, and it's all bunk, right? So I am guessing that what they're saying here is a misinterpretation of the facts. Now, again, I'm neutral here. I don't care enough about that. I'm more after Jimmy Dore as a person than where he takes money from, right? That's my main critique. But again, I'm just throwing this out there. It's a thing.
A cutout created under the Reagan administration. An ex-CIA agent gushed about Bellingcat's role as a clearinghouse for US and UK intelligence, declaring, "We love this. Instead of trying to have things cleared or worry about classification issues, you could just reference their work." In other words, Khan's smeared Jimmy Dore with a phony talking point that originated from a de facto CIA cutout. Very progressive. Khan's also
now again, if that is true, okay, and you're doing exactly what you claim they do on Jimmy Dore. You're making a personal attack and then ignoring the substance of what their disagreements with Jimmy are. Who cares if Nomiki is parroting CIA talking points? Who cares? Attack her argument. But, again, already 3 minutes in, this video is hypocritical, right? Has proven itself to not understand basic English, right? And is creating an us versus them team sports mentality that you would expect to find in, like, you know, meatheads in Philadelphia celebrating fucking the Phillies winning something or whatever, or the Eagles, whoever, whichever. I don't fucking know.
Doubted journalist Max Blumenthal by falsely accusing him of going on a literal foreign interest-funded trip to Syria. So who is Nomiki Konst, and why does she sound like an intern for the Project for a New American Century? According to her own bio, she not only helps coach Hollywood celebrity wannabes on public speaking, she's been an active participant in NATO's criminal destruction of Libya. That's right, self-described leftist Nomiki Konst spent time training the Islamist opposition in Libya after the NATO intervention that deposed Muammar Gaddafi and saw him murdered in the streets by jihadist proxies after drone attacks.
Now, I just want to say again, I am not a scholar on Libya, okay? I'm not. Should I know more? Absolutely. I've only really been reading into political stuff and history for the past 2 years. I dropped out of high school, right? I got a lot of catching up to do. So I don't know much about the Libya situation. I am, again, going to say that I am neutral. I am deferring. They could be right. Nomiki could be right. Honestly, given this whole situation, I'm a pretty anti-war. I'm kind of... So I'm going to take the anti-war approach. And again, these are all, like, clips and things from, like, 5 years ago, right? So it's just, it's bizarre. It's bizarre. And it's going against their argument. Again, they're just character attacking Nomiki instead of her arguments against Jimmy Dore.
Attacked his motorcade. Konst traveled to Libya thanks to the National Democratic Institute, one of the subsidiaries of the very same CIA cutout, the National Endowment for Democracy, that funds Bellingcat. The National Democratic Institute was directed at the time by Madeleine Albright, a militaristic former Secretary of State who famously stated that she was perfectly fine with being responsible for killing 500,000 Iraqi children.
We have heard that 500,000 children have died. I mean, that's more children than died in Hiroshima. And you know, is the price worth it? I think this is a very hard choice, but the price...
Now again, this person is disgusting. You're not going to get any debate from me about that, right? But the way they frame it as if, oh, being interviewing someone in a professional standpoint means that you endorse them or whatever. I don't know, it's bizarre. It's a little bizarre.
You think the price is worth it?
When I called out Konst's U.S. government-sponsored regime change vacation on Twitter, she doubled down on her slander, demanding to know if I'd also lined my pockets with Bashar bucks. Full disclosure, I've never received money from Bashar al-Assad, the Syrian government, or any of its functionaries, and I don't know how getting Syrian government money would even be possible, given U.S. sanctions that make such an act a criminal offense. But I did receive the same award that Jimmy Dore and many other anti-war journalists have received from the non-profit group she referenced, and which, once again, is not part of the Syrian government in any way. And guess what? I'm proud to have earned an award approved by the family of Serena Shim, the brave American journalist who lost her life exposing the dirty war in Syria. Beyond her part in bringing slavery back to the African continent, Nomiki Konst was trained as a millennial thought leader by the Truman National Security Project, a Democratic Party-aligned pro-war think tank that helped groom noted revolutionary leaders like Pete Buttigieg and Michelle Flournoy. The Truman National Security Project...
Again, someone can go to school in a place and become radical, right? I don't know who Nomiki Konst is 5 years ago, 10 years ago, right? But I've seen her programming, right? I've even been on her program, right? You know, because, you know, I'm funny. But to me, if she were to espouse these opinions today, I would disagree with them. But I have not heard her espouse these opinions. So it's possible she does, and I just miss out on it. Or again, it's possible she has a different point of view other than what this video is trying to postulate here.
Project was formed to create a new generation of hawkish Democrats rethinking security questions in a post-9/11 world. Nomiki seemed to fit perfectly with the brand. Here's millennial thought leader Nomiki Konst discussing her time in Libya in a 2013 interview.
When it comes to NATO, all I witnessed was Libyans being incredibly grateful to NATO because it was
7 years ago.
Go by these buildings where NATO struck the buildings and it just exploded. It was amazing.
Even in 2015, long after the liberal hawks who pushed Obama to strike Libya had been wholly discredited and the country was in perpetual chaos, Konst stood by her support for the attack, tweeting that the neocon senator Marco Rubio was right about Libya. At the same time, she was regularly appearing on Fox News to shill for Obama's wars in Syria and Iraq.
Nomiki, did you hear anything new from the president today?
You know, what the president did today was he explained what he's accomplished, what the administration has done with the rest of the world, with the coalition of Arab states, the world coalition, in attacking ISIS at its core in Iraq and in Syria. He's talking about cutting off the head of ISIS. You know, the time
Are they contained?
they're more contained than they've ever been. They're not spreading as of last week. You know, when you look at the military, when you look at the troops on the ground there, they're being attacked militarily. It is America's amping up of intelligence. It's America's amping up.
I had no idea Nomiki was on the O'Reilly Factor. Holy shit. Like, was Bill O'Reilly, like, let me look back at this. Was Bill O'Reilly, like, was she, like, face-to-face with Bill O'Reilly? Little tangent here, side story. Bill O'Reilly, I have a special relationship with Bill O'Reilly. Because for whatever reason, I don't know why, like, my mom was not, like, necessarily right-wing, but she used to, like, watch Fox for, like, the television shows, like, the non-news shows. And so oftentimes she would put Fox on at all times, just waiting for the whatever show to come up, like, you know, like American Idol or whatever, you know. And so I would watch by proxy a lot of Bill O'Reilly. And and once I started getting into YouTube when I was like 13, one of like the first things I started looking up was like Bill O'Reilly clips and seeing people make fun of him because I always thought he was a goober. It's a little side story for me. I'm stoned right now. I'm just a pothead comedian, right? But like, I just think, I don't know, that's pretty impressive. If anything, that makes me like Nomiki more, like just aside from all the context here. And again, this can be cringe. I don't care. It's 5 years ago.
Coalition in attacking ISIS at its core in Iraq and in Syria. He's talking about cutting off the head of ISIS. You know, the time
Are they
was,
contained?
they're more contained than they've ever been.
Okay,
They're
that's
not
not
spreading
Bill
as of last week.
O'Reilly.
When you look at the military, when you look at the troops on the ground there.
Either way,
It's
the O'Reilly factor, I love it.
It's America's amping up of national security and internet security.
Sure.
Like Nomiki Kant's Young Turks personality, Anna Kasparian took it upon herself to defend AOC against the powerful Beltway lobby of pothead comedian Jimmy Dore and his supporters. She accused him of never acting in good faith and tweeted,
This is something that I find bizarre. So this guy is trying to say Nomiki is tied to NATO, and NATO is like this all-powerful, like ethereal group of people that are controlling everything, and they're rich and powerful, right? And Nomiki, who has a YouTube show, right, and she's got like what, 100,000 subscribers or something. She's more powerful because she's on Team NATO, right? Than the pothead comedian. Oh, he's just a pothead. The guy's got like, how many subscribers does Jimmy Dore have? Like 800,000, right? I would say, as far as mobilizing online troll armies, right? A pothead comedian with 800,000 subscribers that gets 100,000 views per video has a lot more power in the social sphere, which is, let's be honest, like, it's not like Nomiki's going to like target Jimmy Dore and have him like have a fucking IDF soldier break it. Like, that's not happening. This is all in the battlefield of ideas, right? So to claim that Nomiki is an all-powerful, like, godlike creature, that TYT are like, you know, like gods, like, it's like, I'm sorry, it's a little ludicrous. And let's be honest, does TYT get that many views? They might have a lot of subs, but do they get that many views? And is it as much of a cult of personality around one person at TYT? TYT is mostly comprised of multiple different people, right? Not that, you know, maybe Jenk's the most egomaniacal of them. You know, I'm not trying to say that is necessarily a negative thing, right? But I mean, versus 800,000 subscribers for one guy whose show is all about himself and his narcissism, I think there's a different interaction. I think Jimmy Dore's cult of personality is formidable, and that's why I think it's of due diligence for people like me to go after it.
that his call to pressure Pelosi is a branding exercise more than anything, even though she admitted that Jimmy's proposal is the right thing to do. For Kasparian, personal beef with Jimmy Dore outweighs the public's dire need for healthcare. I'd be remiss to overlook...
Again, putting those two things at odds. If you disagree with Jimmy Dore or the way he presents things, that means you are against universal healthcare. That's not true. I am for universal healthcare. I have more of a reason to be for universal healthcare than this tanky bitch. And I also don't like Jimmy Dore. That's called multiple things that you can think that have no odds with one another. Jimmy Dore wasn't for Medicare for All 10 months ago. He supported Tulsi Gabbard, right? So, just saying.
Influence $20 million invested in the Young Turks from Jeffrey Katzenberg's media conglomerate that has its fingers in the private healthcare industry. 2019, Katzenberg developed a smartphone app to help healthcare giants with mobile marketing. Like Nomiki Kant, Anna Kasparian brands herself as a progressive. And even
now, again, I've only seen TYT promote Medicare for All and universal healthcare systems. If they were suddenly pro-healthcare, that would explain something. Now, I know Cenk is a little bit on the neolib side. You know, he's a, you know, like, let's be honest. Like, let's be honest, right? Like, you know. So, I like, he might be a little bit more amenable to, like, an Elizabeth Warren compromise or a Pete Buttigieg compromise. But, like, I have only ever seen people advocate for Medicare for All on that show. I know they mostly supported Bernie, relatively early on. Again, Jimmy Dore was supporting anti-Medicare for All Tulsi Gabbard, right? So, I'm just saying, that's very interesting stuff right there.
Socialist while participating directly in NATO propaganda operations. Last year, Kasparian beamed with pride as she interviewed Madeleine Albright at the Munich Security Conference, a NATO summit funded by Western governments, multinational corporations, and the arms industry. At the same gathering of international militarists, she argued to a U.S. general that Trump was not hard enough on Russia and suggested that he's controlled by Putin.
I don't think there are too many coincidences when it comes to Donald Trump and Russia. And look, I'm not some Russia fearmonger, but he questions the legitimacy of NATO. He questions whether or not it was really that big of a deal for Russia to annex Crimea. He was very reluctant to implement those sanctions. He is very complimentary to Vladimir Putin.
This is
his
asking
actions
for war?
really do speak volumes.
Kasparian also denigrated...
How is just making, like, opinions based on relatively factual statements, like endorsing war or battle with Russia? What? Like, yeah, Donald Trump has done things that are very mysterious. Now, I don't think it's more so Putin. I think it's more likely oligarchic interests that are concentrated in Russia and also Saudi Arabia and also Brazil and also in other countries around the globe, right? Where he does all these kinds of dealings. It's not just a Russia thing, but, you know, it's an interesting question to ask, right? Does that mean you automatically want war? You want to escalate with Russia? I don't know. It's bizarre to me. I disagree with that assertion.
Rated leftists who dared to question the avalanche of anti-China propaganda, demanding that they be honest and just accept State
This
Department.
is the part where the tanky bitch starts defending China, right? Like, this guy's going far in depth, trying to tie, like, Nomiki Konst, who has, like, 100,000 YouTube subscribers, to NATO, and saying she's a NATO soldier, like, a super soldier, right? And then this guy's gonna go on and say, oh, that's all anti-China propaganda. They were all saying China's committed human rights abuses. No way! This is the hilarious part. This is the part where, like, I really just want to, like, you know, pump this shit on. Seriously? Like, what the fuck? All right, listen to this.
Points lock, stock, and barrel.
But I also have an issue with some people on the left who aren't honest about the actual abuses that take place in China, right? And the abuses that take place in Hong Kong now, Taiwan. I think the Uyghur Muslims and how they're being sent to these camps.
No surprise, Kasparian had little interest in reporting on the persecution of Julian Assange. And his
He just says, oh, that's anti-China propaganda. So police brutality in Hong Kong, police beating the shit out of and killing protesters, that's anti-China you saw it on video. You saw it on video, but it's anti-China propaganda. Oh, you saw, you know, them restrict the rights to freely record protest. That's just anti-China propaganda. No, everything, like, oh, concentration camps for specific, oh, no, it's just anti-China propaganda. This guy undercuts and undermines his whole video with this ridiculous bullshit. But again, it's 9 minutes in that this guy reveals himself to be a fucking weirdo, tanky bullshit motherfucker, right? And it's just, and then he just moves on, and then it's next. Oh, and then Julian Assange. You know, just, like, I'm pretty sure Anna wants to pardon Julian Assange, but is critical of a certain politics. That's my position. You know, maybe her position is different. I don't know, but that's my position, right? I don't think he should be arrested, but also, who pressed the charges against him, right? But I don't know. This is just, it's just...
I think the Uyghur Muslims and how they're being sent to these camps.
No surprise, Kasparian had little interest in reporting on the persecution of Julian Assange. When his extradition trial kicked off,
only the really, I hate to say this, but those with the lowest IQ.
Like, these motherfuckers, man.
her viewers had to pressure her to even cover it at all.
Kimber Maddox says, free Assange, he's being tortured. You have more subscribers than any other progressive media outlet. Please cover his court hearings. I promise you we'll look into that.
The most consequential trial of the century isn't even on the radar.
That clip, what does that clip prove? That's like reading a donation comment, like someone gave like a $5 super chat and then asked them to cover the, there's no time code. There's no, that was just a completely out of, like, what could that, like, you can see me like reading a super chat, like, message, right? And then like, and then take that out of context. It's like, okay, I'll look into that. I don't subscribe. I don't watch TYT all that often, right? But maybe they, who knows if they covered Assange later. I don't know. I have no idea. And I like, it's just, what the
Dore, the corporate NATO propagandist Anna Kasparian. Perhaps the most unhinged Jimmy hater is Ben Dixon, the podcaster who speculated.
I just want to say I'm the most unhinged Jimmy hater. Again, Ben Dixon ain't got nothing on this motherfucking bullshit, okay? So I reject that label for Ben. I want to be the most unhinged Jimmy hater.
Dore was actually an FBI operation to destroy the squad and prevent Medicare for all.
Fuck Jimmy Dore. This stuff is sociopathy. What he is doing is cashing in on your anger, but he's cashing in with a strategy that's going to leave you without Medicare for all. He is literally, at this point, COINTELPRO for me. He is a Fed at this point.
This is the same Ben Dixon who spent years smearing Julian Assange. And
I love how that's like clearly a hyperbolic analogy, right? Which, by the way, I agree with. If there is, like, if the CIA would definitely create someone as epically cringe as Jimmy Dore. Let's be honest, right? But that was a hyperbolically analogous statement or whatever. That's not like a literal statement of fact, right? That's not like, oh, it's just totally not tongue-in-cheek. He's being entirely serious. And then, right, and then this guy's gonna bring up tweets from like 4 years ago. If it's like, what? Like, what does a tweet from 4 years ago have to do with like a joke on Majority Report he did last week? Like, what the fuck? But like, by the way, again, this guy said that, you know, Hong Kong is perfectly fine and there is no human rights abuses in China. This video, 8,000 views, 1,000 likes. Embarrassing. This is some bullshit, man.
For all. He is literally, at this point, COINTELPRO for me. He is a Fed at this point.
This is the same Ben Dixon who spent years smearing Julian Assange and providing left-wing cover as the actual Fed sought to lock the WikiLeaks co-founder up and throw away the key as punishment for revealing hideous...
Like, okay, smearing Julian Assange. Julian Assange has said some cringy stuff. He's done some cringy things. Like these people treat him like he's a hero, like he's God incarnate. like he's like the son of Jesus Christ or whatever, like the grand, like
It's going to
what?
leave you
Like
without
let's
Medicare
read
for all.
these tweets.
He is literally at this
Let's
point
read these
COINTELPRO for me.
tweets.
He is a fed at this point.
This is the same Ben Dixon who's
WikiLeaks and Assange were once held in a venerated position by too many seen as heroes above reproach and questioning. Agreed. You can endorse him being pardoned and say that the charges against him are bollocks, but then also disagree with certain things he says. That's completely reasonable.
spent years smearing Julian Assange and providing left-wing cover.
Sorry, but Julian Assange irks me. Me too. Not the leaks. Those are needed. But Assange, again, saying that what Assange did in that specific instance that made him more popular, right, for these people is good, agreeing with that action, but then saying that his individual politics are a little cringy. That's completely reasonable. That's completely fucking reasonable. But this guy's, oh, this is a smear. Having a nuanced take on it's a smear.
As the actual feds sought to lock the WikiLeaks co-founder up and throw away the key as punishment for revealing hideous U.S. war crimes.
Come on, fire.
How is that, like, so Ben Dixon endorses war crimes? Like, what?
Only the really, I hate to say this, but those with the lowest IQ. I hate to say this, but those with the lowest IQ. Only the really, I hate to say this, but those with the lowest IQ.
I really just,
Dixon had high praise for the feds and their meddling in Hong Kong, specifically CIA.
Even if the CIA is funding the protesters in Hong Kong, China is no more the socialist revolutionary vanguard that America is. So you might find ourselves in situations where the CIA, who does nothing but evil things around the world, yes, find themselves, for whatever reason, whatever justification,
completely rational, nuanced take, right? Obviously, people should have a right to protest without getting, like, their fucking knees cracked or their fucking eyes blinded. By the way, which also happens in America, obviously, even if the CIA is linked or is connected to those protests are so righteous that it's justifiable. That's a nuanced take, which, by the way, I happen to agree with. But again, the guy who made this video is some China shill, some guy who's addicted to Chinese tanky propaganda. It's embarrassing. It's fucking cringy, bro. And I seriously...
Only the really, I hate to say this, but those with the lowest IQ.
China is no more the socialist revolutionary vanguard that America is. So you might find ourselves in situations where the CIA, who does nothing but evil things around the world, yes, find themselves, for whatever reason, whatever their justification, find themselves on the right side of the argument. I'm not going to have a knee-jerk reaction and say just because the CIA, it's just like saying just because America is involved in something, it's inherently evil. No.
Dixon was so incensed by the prospect of a floor vote on public health care that he demanded Jimmy Dore meet him on the playground at recess.
But Jimmy Dore, you know where to find me, dude. You know where to find me.
Jake Uyghur also trashed Jimmy Dore, his former colleague.
That is a total mischaracterization. You know where to find me is like clearly, again, an invitation to DM. You know my email. You have my phone number. But this guy's like attributing it to like Ben Dixon wants to beat the shit out of him. And like maybe even if he does, like that's kind of funny. But like the way I hear that is he's clearly saying, you know where to find me. Let's talk about this. But it's because Jimmy famously does not let people who have a disagreement with him on his show. He has like fucking ran away from Sam Cedars debate challenges for like a cool 5 years now, honestly, which is embarrassing, right? But like that's just like
He demanded Jimmy Dore meet him on the playground at recess.
But Jimmy Dore, you know where to find me, dude. You know where to find me.
Jake Uyghur also trashed Jimmy Dore, his former colleague at the Young Turks. Maybe it was inevitable that Cenk would lash out at Jimmy. For the past 4 years, Cenk has shamelessly promoted Russiagate, claiming an undeniable Trump-Russia connection and whipping up Cold War hysteria.
So I think that there clearly is collusion based on the publicly available evidence. I think the Russians during the election, did they interfere, quote unquote interfere? Yes. Did they do the fake news? Yes. Did they buy those troll farms tweets? Yes. But after the election, Putin pulls him aside and says, you know, we did all that money laundering together. We just turned that in and you're in a world of trouble. You're going to go to prison. So here's what you're going to do for us. And then Trump proceeds to do just that.
Back in 2011, the future founder of the Justice Democrats was orgasming over the...
Again, I'm not a huge person on Russia. I don't really give a shit, right? That's not my really fucking situation. But these people think that, oh, Russiagate is some, like, one of the most important opinions of our time. Now, I don't know where you stand on, like, you know, human rights abuses in China or in America. No. It's what you thought about the Russian role in the election or something. Like, who cares, dude? I think it's silly. I think it's stupid. I think it's dumb. Just as I think that these same people on the so-called left who are defending the election stealing propaganda bullshit, I think that they're dumb, right? I don't know. It's just, this is ridiculous.
Destruction of Libya.
Down goes Gaddafi. It appears. Down goes Gaddafi. Down goes Gaddafi. Gaddafi. It appears down goes Gaddafi.
And when Neera Tanden, who proposed stealing Libya's oil to balance the budget, was recently selected as Biden's Office of Management and Budget Director, Wigger tweeted that he's rooting for her. And then there's the time that he declared his support for
Cenk is like, yeah, Cenk is really fucking cringe. Like, you know, he's pretty fucking cringe, like I said. You know,
4 guys in the CIA. It's no coincidence that the pundits who are circling the wagons around AOC and seething at a comedian for pushing for a Medicare for all floor vote are also a bunch of pseudo-left imperialists. They position themselves as guard dogs and gatekeepers of the Democratic Party, a pro-war, pro-Wall Street political cartel.
Now, would I say Cenk is maybe an imperialist? Maybe. But to say that fucking, like, Nomiki's an imperialist because she worked with NATO 7 years ago, I mean, that's silly. That's silly. To say that, like, Sam Cedar is an imperialist because the X, or to say Ben Dixon's an imperialist because he doesn't like Julian Assange's political takes sometimes, like, this is just some bullshit, right? And this whole force the vote thing, it's all a cult of personality, dumb ass nonsense bullshit. And again, if you fall for this, dude, seriously, it's embarrassing. But again, I'm the person that says we should be able to grow. We should be able to learn. If you've got the lowest IQ today, you can have one of the highest IQs tomorrow. All you have to do is realize that people can be wrong. And if you think that the force the vote strategy is a good strategy and that's your thing and you don't like Jimmy Dore, that's fine. But if you are repping or defending Jimmy Dore, I'm sorry. But it's just, I'm sorry.
Only the really, I hate to say this, but those with the lowest IQ.
It's not good. Not good. Unbelievable. Anyway, that was my extremely long segment for the day.